Hi, I want to welcome you all to this recording that's part of a larger series offering mental health and suicide prevention information, support, and resources in response to the global pandemic. My name is Kelsey Schmitz, and I work for the University of Washington at the School Mental Health Assessment Research and Training Center, or SMART Center, as the school mental health lead to the Northwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center. Our center is located in Seattle, Washington. In response to the critical need for information during and after the global pandemic, a group of organizations based in the Northwest region have quickly formed an alliance to join together to co-develop, co-deliver, co-sponsor, and co-brand content, resources, and other information. In an effort to bring together in one spot a wealth of relevant information and access to school mental health experts, the Northwest MHTTC and the UW Smart Center are partnering with Forefront Suicide Prevention Center, Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza, the Association of Washington School Principals, Northwest Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Network, Sound Supports, and Well Educator to bring you the Wellbeing Series. If you'd like to learn more about the Wellbeing Series, please visit our Wellbeing Series webpage and learn about the other events that are planned. All the events are free and anyone's welcome to join. If you have any questions, you can reach out to my colleague, Megan Lucy. As I mentioned, we're part of the National Mental Health Technology Transfer Center Network. This network is funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration and includes 10 regional centers, a National American Indian and Alaska Native Center, a National Hispanic and Latino Center, and a network coordinating office. If you're interested in reaching out to the Northwest region, where we support the workforce development of school mental health professionals in Alaska, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, you can find information for how to email us, how to visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, and connect with us on social media. Now we hope that you will join us to go into the living room of Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza with their family as they teach their kids the basics of emotional regulation and specific skills such as mindfulness, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness, essential skills at any time, but even more critical during COVID-19. We hope you'll tune into this lesson and the other lessons that are scheduled to help your kids and your family reduce conflict and keep this pandemic in perspective. If you're interested, here's the weekly schedule. All lessons will be recorded and posted to YouTube. You can also watch these on YouTube Live by subscribing to the DBT in Schools YouTube page. We also invite you to join us on May 19th and June 16th for a session live with Drs. Jim and Liz Mazza. These sessions require registration, and you can get those registration links as well as information about the rest of this series by visiting the website at the bottom of this slide. We hope you enjoy this lesson.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? I feel like we're a little dark in here all of a sudden today. I'll work on that in just a moment. So good morning. Welcome to our DBT Steps A class, where we're focusing on student skills for surviving and thriving during COVID-19 and beyond. I'm Dr. Liz Dexter Mazza, and over here, I'll have you stand up for a moment. This is Jim Mazza, and these are our kids. We'll introduce them in just a minute, as we are all here teaching our skills, our social-emotional learning skills, for what we need to use to be able to help regulate, manage our emotions, make effective decisions during this stay-at-home time for COVID-19. And we're going to jump in. We've been, hopefully, for some of you have been with us for several weeks as we've been teaching these skills, and some of you may be brand new to us this week. So looking forward to being here with all of you today. And we're going to get started. Let me start off by introducing who we have in our classroom with us today.
I'm Ashton, I'm 12 and I'm in 6th grade. I'm Grace, I'm 8 and in 2nd grade.
My name's Jackson, I'm 13, I'm in 7th grade.
Great, thank you guys for being here. And if you happen to have handouts at home, if you don't, no worries. All of our handouts come out of the school curriculum for DBT Skills in Schools, the social emotional learning curriculum. So we're glad you're here. And one of the things we always do when we start off our classes is we start with a mindfulness exercise as a way of helping us to get focused, be present in the moment, and to practice the mindfulness skills that we've been learning over the last several classes. So today, the kids came up with a participate mindfulness skill that they wanted us to do. It's not one that's in the curriculum, and I love that they were using their creativity to think about how can we do this activity while practicing mindfulness. So today's mindfulness exercise is called a game called pterodactyl, and we're going to practice participating one mindfully in the moment, throwing yourself in, and being non-judgmental and kind of trying to be right here, right now. So it's the mindfulness skills of participate, throwing yourself all in, and doing it one mindfully of just being in this experience and not trying to jump ahead to what I'm going to do when it's my turn or coming next to it. So for this game, what we're going to do is we're going to stand in a circle, and I want you guys to do this at home as well, and everybody is going to say the word pterodactyl, right? We're all going to say the same word, and we're going to go around in a circle. So I'll say pterodactyl, and then the next person will say pterodactyl, and just keep going around. Except that if you are, when it's your turn, you decide you want to change the order, you have to make a pterodactyl sound. Can I get a pterodactyl sound? Right? And then the order changes. And it keeps going back around, pterodactyl, pterodactyl, pterodactyl. And if somebody else makes a pterodactyl sound, the order changes again. So you never know if it's going to be your turn, or is the order going to change? It's going to go to the other turn. And then here's the kicker. We play the entire game without showing our teeth. So what you're going to do is you are going to cover your teeth with your lips, and you're going to go, pterodactyl, pterodactyl. All right, can you guys all try that at home? Pterodactyl. And you also have to keep your teeth covered when you make your pterodactyl sound on that. Okay, do those instructions sound clear to everybody?
And if you show your teeth, you're out.
Okay, so we'll notice that and then restart again for our practice. Okay, so we'll try not to blow out the microphones and being overly loud, so we'll be mindful of that, right? And throwing ourselves to participate one mindfully during this. And then no judgments if somebody makes a mistake. Just notice like, oh, we made a mistake, and restart. All right, Jim, are you going to come join us?
I am.
All right, and everybody stand up. So we stand up for this participate exercise. And we'll go ahead and start. We're going to cover our lips, and you guys
Cover our
try
teeth,
this.
right?
I mean, cover our teeth with our lips. And you guys try this at home.
All right.
Ready? And we'll start by going this way. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
All right,
Nice
let's
work.
stop.
Woo!
Thanks, guys. I hope you all enjoyed that at home as well. So what I want to hear from you guys is, what did you notice? We're going to practice our observe and describe skill here.
My lips got sore.
So you described you observed that you had some soreness in your lips, holding them over.
My cheeks got sore.
There was some soreness in your cheeks, you noticed.
My lips felt weird.
Your lips felt weird, right? So you
After a
noticed,
while.
so all three of you noticed different sensations in your face.
Everyone was
One
going
at a time.
like this. And Grace was like.
So did you see her teeth?
No.
No. Oh, because what you just showed was her teeth.
Oh, well,
Grace
she
was
was like-
so Grace was saying covering her teeth in a different way.
Yeah.
Okay. And so why is this? And what did you guys notice at home on that? And then let me here. You're just gonna. So here, there you go. And then, so what I need to know from you guys, why is this relevant? Why is practicing something like this as a mindfulness exercise, how is this relevant to our everyday lives, living in COVID-19, being outside or at school, or when we're just doing things?
We're in. Like we're all in.
Like you're fully participating in, maybe regardless of any silly judgments you're having in the back of your mind?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else? Why might this be present? Or by relevant? And you guys at home, let me know why you think it might be relevant.
What does relevant mean?
What does relevant mean? Why do we practice this so that we can use it for mindfulness? Instead of just fun a game, like why is it a skill? And why do we use it?
Being in the moment, not thinking about like anything else.
Okay,
Just full on.
so full on jumping in, being in the moment and not thinking about other things. Where do we have to practice being in the moment during our day?
School.
School, you're practicing being in the moment during school. Basketball, we're practicing being in the moment in basketball. And sometimes we have to practice being in the moment in basketball and not thinking about what school assignments I need to get back to just be here right now in this basketball game or in this recess activity and not thinking about what to do, or thinking about what I need to be doing for my school assignment or whatever activity I'm doing right here, right now, and not thinking about what I'm going to be doing during recess later. So we're practicing being one mindfully in this moment in the games like this, so that when we're out in our lives, we're able to practice doing whatever activity we're doing one mindfully in the moment and not thinking about what's next or what we just missed. Does that make sense? What questions do people have at home about this mindfulness exercise or how it's relevant?
Fun in the moment.
Fun in the moment,
Yeah.
right? Being right here, right now.
Loved it. So there's a reaction. Haven't had time for anything else to come in yet at this point.
Okay, we'll keep kind of monitoring that. Do you guys have any other questions or comments about that exercise? We should do it again. Okay, that's a
This
thought.
lip was covering this lip.
So you noticed that your lips
It
were
was-
covering each other?
Odd.
It was different? Yeah, and odd. Okay, what I love about this is that you guys were able to come up with a game, an exercise you like to play, and then we were able to show how it links to the mindfulness skills we're going to practice. So nice job. If you want to keep practicing coming up with things like that and we can link it to our mindfulness, we'll keep trying to add them to our exercises.
Throw the motion.
You got one from your acting class yesterday on how to throw the motion. We'll look at doing one of those also. All right, any other questions come in? Comments?
Nope, not that I saw.
All right, so we're going to switch gears now. Jim's going to jump in. If you guys are just joining us for our class today, this is Student Skills for Surviving and Thriving During COVID-19 and Beyond, based off the lessons of the DBT Steps A curriculum that we developed. And we are going to just finish our mindfulness exercise, and we are going to jump in and teach our next emotion regulation skill of check the facts. So Jim's going to come up here, and I'm going to go man the cameras. Thanks, everybody.
All right. You guys get Dad back again. All right. So here's what I want to talk about a little bit, right? And I want to kind of provide a little bit of an overview before we get going here. And I'll have Liz put up some slides that are going to help with this piece as well. So we've been talking about our emotions, right? We're kind of getting into this COVID-19 fatigue piece, right? We're starting to feel like, when is this going to be over? When we're gonna get back to school or do whatever we're doing, right? And so our emotions are getting a little bit more raw, I guess, right? We're starting to feel them a little bit more. So I want us to think about, and Liz, if you can throw up the next slide there, I want us to figure out where we are in emotion regulation, right? So we talk about the big dialectic being acceptance and change, right? And so what we want to be able to do is show you that, because people ask me, you guys have asked me, Dad, how do you know which skill to do? When do I use this skill versus that skill, right? And the idea is that it depends, right? So we have to use our mindfulness skills to figure out, where are we in our bodies? What's our body telling us? And based on that, we're going to use then a skill based on what the mindfulness tells us, right? So today we're talking about check the facts, which is over here on the change side, right? We learned about our crisis survival skills that were actually on the other side, right? And so Jackson, I'm over here. They're mindfulness skills, right? And then the crisis survival skills. What was the determining factor? Do you remember what we did for the determining factor regarding the? Let me get this here for everybody. And so, what was the determining factor that we would do? 65. So we had this thermometer, right? This emotion thermometer. Right? The emotion thermometer, right? And what we want to do is, we had to figure out, and so we'd have our line here, right? We have this emotion thermometer. Do you remember what the crisis level was?
65.
65. Great. I love it, right? So 65. Great. You guys were listening. That's our crisis level, right? Crisis level. And so that crisis level then determines if we're going to be on the acceptance side or the change side, right? If we're high over here, right? We're up way over here. What do we talk about doing? What do we use? Do you remember?
Accepts.
We do, accept. Perfect, Grace. And that's a crisis survival skill, right? So that's why we use our crisis survival skills up here, right? And we talked about accepts already, right? Crisis survival. What do we do if we're actually below 65?
Emotion regulation.
That's right. Good job, Ashton. Emotion regulation. So if we're below 65, we're actually going to use emotion regulation skills. Like that. And so, let's go this way. Regulation. And there's a picture that you guys at home can see, right? That's there. And so, what's interesting about that is that crisis survival skills are on one side of the continuum and emotion regulation skills are on the other. So the big question is, when people say, what skill do I need to use? I would say, okay, well, we got to figure out what your body's telling you, right? We got to figure out if you're above 65 or below 65. If we're above 65, it really doesn't matter what that emotion is. We know that if we act on our emotions above 65, because we're in emotion mind, what's going to happen?
You most likely won't get what you want.
Or make it worse.
Or make it worse, exactly, right? So the crisis survival skills that we talked about were really skills to be teaching, don't make it worse, all right? So we taught that a couple of weeks ago. And so now, what if the emotion's not above 65 though, and we still don't like feeling sad, we don't feel what's that?
Regulate.
We've tried to regulate, right. So now we're on the other side, we're on the acceptance side, and that's emotion regulation. And Mom, if you can go one more slide down. And so here's where emotion regulation sits, right? So we talked about the model of emotion last week, or 2 weeks ago actually, right? And check the facts is if we're below 65, all right, the first thing that we do is we ask the question of, does my emotion fit the facts? All right, Grace, did you have a question? Yeah.
What if you're at 65?
What if you're at 65? It's a mindfulness decision. Use your wise mind to decide which do I need to do. All right, so I think that's a great question. So if you're right at 65, I might take the situation and say, you know what? I think I'm going to use crisis survival because I don't want to make it worse. And once my emotions come down a little bit lower, and I'm sure they're below 65, I'll use my emotion regulation skills. Yep. All right. So why that's important is because when we're below 65 and we still want to get rid of some of our emotions or we want them to change, we've got to say, so now what do we do, right? The big question that we ask is check the facts. And when we check the facts, we have two different outcomes that can happen, right? Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm not sure what happened there. We might have had a surge here and everything kind of shut down. Okay. So let me go back just a little bit. I'll try to guess about where we were, okay? And so we were talking about, Grace had talked about what happens if you're at 65, right? And I said I would probably make the wise-minded decision to not make it worse. And if I'm not going to make it worse, what skills am I going to be doing?
Emotion regulation?
No, if I'm not making it worse, crisis survival skills, right? Emotion regulation skills are on the other side of the continuum, right? And so now we're going to talk about, though, being on that emotion regulation skills side, right, the change side, and we're below 65. So if we're below 65, we say, let's check the facts, right? That's our first question. So if we check the facts, right, we'll check the facts.
Two things can happen when you check the facts, is where you are.
Okay, check the facts, great, right? The facts can fit or they cannot fit, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Ashton, you're laughing because, well, yeah, hello,
Kind of
right?
obvious.
Of course,
It's
right?
like, yeah, they're either a fact
Not
or
fit?
they're not.
Well, and here's what's going to be important about that, though, right?
Fact or opinion.
Or they fit, right? Yeah, I'll just do that. That's okay. So, Ashton, in your handout of 17.2, it's on page 433 if you have your book. Grace, I want you to read the first statement at the top. What does it say? Nice and loud for everybody here.
Many emotions and actions are set off by our thoughts and interpretations of events, not by the events themselves.
Great. So many of our emotions that we have can be set off actually by the interpretations, not actually the events. So we're going to get an event that happens like this, event. It sets off a thought that we might have, thoughts. And then we have feelings, right? We have our emotions. E-M-T. All right? Those are emotions. All right? That can happen. Can you think of any times when you've had... Yeah, go ahead, Jackson. Perfect.
When I come back in from being outside,
Yep.
or doing something, and I see the basement lights back on, I immediately ask, "Where's Ashton?"
Where's Ashton? Right. So there's an event that there, it provokes something, you're like, You're already like at this emotion, like, oh, my brother forgot to turn off the lights, right?
Or he's downstairs playing video games without me.
Possibly, right? And then the emotion happens again, right? So we can have those. So sometimes our thoughts fuel those emotions, right? We also can have times when we have an event, and guess what's next? The emotion comes next. And then we actually have thoughts about it. And you're like, well, how does that happen? Well, how about when you've ever been out riding your bicycle, maybe those of you at home out riding your bicycle, and you've almost fallen, right? Or you almost hit something. You hit a big bump, or there was something in the road, and you reacted really quickly so that you didn't fall. And then you thought, oh my gosh, what if I would have fallen? What if I would have scraped my face? Well, I have a date tomorrow, or I've got something. I can't afford to do that. What if I broke my arm and I have to go to the hospital, especially during COVID, right? We start having these thoughts, and guess what happens? Our emotions go higher and higher again, right? So we can have a prompting event that provides us with thoughts, and then we have an emotion. We can also have a prompting event that we have an emotion, then we have thoughts to it. Now, has there ever been a time when you've had an emotion on an event that was really not very scary, not very... Yes. So give me an example, because sometimes we do this. It's not the event, it's actually our interpretation of the event. So go ahead, give me an example then, Ashton.
Like something that's not very scary, but you think it's really scary.
Or you have an emotional response. It doesn't have to be scary.
When you're going fast on a bike or a skateboard down a hill.
Loud.
And when you're going fast on like a manual vehicle,
Okay.
like a bike or a skateboard, and
Yep.
then like you can't stop.
Okay. And then what happens there?
You hit a pole.
Okay, if you hit a pole, that might not be good, right? I'm thinking about things though that may be happening around in your house, all right, like they happen in our house. So let me go back to Jackson's example, all right? If I say, hey, Ashton, you can have some screen time downstairs.
You gotta go.
The event is actually Ashton gets screen time. What's your emotion? What's your immediate thought?
Why does he get to have screen
Why
time?
does he get to have it, right? So the event isn't prompting. The event is neutral. It's Jackson's thought like, hey, wait a minute, how come he gets to do that?
And I don't.
Right? And I don't, right? It's unfair. And then you start getting angry at Jackson. Does that ever happen to any of you at home where you've got siblings and it's unfair? That doesn't work, right? Grace, can you think of any examples where that might happen, where there's an event that happens that's pretty neutral and your reaction is pretty strong to it? I can think of a situation last year. Can I bring that up? You okay? So how about when you get your tray from the lunchroom and you go over and all the seats are taken by your classmates and there's no place for you to sit?
Oh, yeah.
What happens then?
I get kind of upset.
You get upset?
Because then I have to sit on the other table and then
And-
I can't talk with them.
Right? And then what do your emotions do? What do your thoughts tell you?
Upset.
And what kind of thoughts do you have when that happens, when you have to sit at the other table?
Why?
Right? Nobody wants to talk to me. Why me? That's not fair. Right? And Ashley, let's go over to you. I don't want to leave you out, buddy. Right? So when you come downstairs and I say, hey, Ashley, can you unload the dishwasher? One of your first thoughts back is?
Why not Jackson?
Why not Jackson? And I did it last time. And you start to cycle up. Unloading the dishwasher is not an emotional event, yet you tend to have that reaction, and the more you think it's not fair, exactly, you get more angry and stuff, right? So we're going to talk about that. That's where checking the facts works really well, because once our emotions get high, we don't do well in any of our relationships, right? We don't do well as siblings, we don't do well as partners, and so we want to check those. Let me know if that sounds familiar to anybody at home about that's not fair. Nope, I did it last time. How come he gets all the time? Why does she not have to do dishes? See if there's any similarities that are there. All right.
Oh, wait, I know something.
Why is he so
Okay, go ahead. Grace, nice and loud.
Last night when I realized that my brothers had like something less on schoolwork and I just had to do everything.
Right, so they had less on schoolwork
Yeah.
than you did, and you said that's not fair. All right.
It's not.
So how do we check the facts? There are 3 really important questions that we have to determine and to use to check the facts, all right? And Liz, there's a slide for that. I'm going to have the boys continue to read their handout, the slides, they're right there. Perfect. Thank you.
Wait.
All right. So Jackson, I want you to read. Nope. I want you to read right there the 3 steps in checking the facts.
3 steps to check the facts. Number 1, ask, what is the emotion I want to change?
What is the emotion I want to change? All right. Now,
Number 2.
well, hold on. Want
Okay.
to change. So we're going to talk about that, right? So sometimes it's frustration when I'm asking you to do the unload the dishwasher, and you're upset with Jackson. Frustration. Why Ashton gets screen time and you don't could be frustration, anger that he gets to do it, right? Grace, you felt left out in the lunchroom, right? Sadness, right? The first question is, what is that emotion, right? It could be sadness, it could be anger. Before even that, do I want to change my emotion, right? So you say it's sadness, you say it's anger. The first thing though is, do I want to change that emotion, right? And so there are times when Grace wants to be sad. Leave me alone. I just want to be sad.
Hey.
I just want to be angry. Okay? And so if that happens to you at home, especially if parents are watching, if that happens, that's okay. We shouldn't try to tell our kids that they shouldn't experience those emotions. What we want to do is to say, hey, so when you want to get your anger down or you want your sadness to go away, let me know. I'm available. All right? So I can help out with those steps. All right. So that's the first step. All right. Ashton, can you read step 2?
And Ashton, can you read louder? It's a little hard hearing you and Grace today.
Number 2. Ask what is the event prompting my emotion?
Right.
Question mark.
What is the prompting event, right? What is the prompting
Event.
the prompting event? Okay? And am I thinking about that in all like in black and white thinking? Am I thinking that in the correct? So what is it? Dishwasher, screen. I just didn't put the cap. Lunchroom, right? And then maybe screen time, right? Those are all neutral things. So what is that prompting event? All right. And Grace, nice and loud for number 3.
Am I interpreting the situation correctly? Are there other possible interpretations?
Are there other interpretations? Let's do other ways of thinking. Are there other ways? Okay? So is it possible that there could be other explanations? Is it possible when you didn't have a seat in the lunchroom that it wasn't because they didn't want to talk to Grace? Maybe they ran out of room. Is it possible?
Yeah, because there's 7 girls and
There were 7 girls, right?
yeah, and you can only put 3 on a bench.
Okay, so if you looked at it that way, maybe your emotions wouldn't be so sad. Is it possible, Jackson, when Ashton goes down to play video games,
Because I emptied
that,
the dishwasher.
that he emptied the dishwasher 3 times in a row, or that he
Did all
pulled
his
weeds?
homework.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Would that get some of your emotions down?
Possibly.
Probably, right? So he worked to earn that, right? And so I think that would be helpful. Ashton, is it possible when Jackson gets to do some things that he has earned them, that you're saying, how come that's not fair? Is it possible? Is it possible? Yes. As he goes like this. Yes, it's possible.
Yes.
I get it. Of course. Right. So those are the things that we have to ask ourselves in checking the facts, right? And again, keep in mind if we come back, so those of you that might be just joining us a little bit late, we're working with, we're trying to do a skill that's called check the facts. It's on the change side of what we're trying to do. We're trying to reduce our emotion severity. And when it's below 65, the first question we want to ask is, does my emotion fit the facts? There's yes, it fits the facts. There's no, it doesn't fit the facts, right? We're at the spot of, let's work with, yes, it fits the facts, all right? So we're at that spot right now. All right, so as our emotions fit the facts, when do we know an emotion fits the time, the situation? And so where is that? And so, Elizabeth, you can go down that slide, that box. All right, so I'm going to erase this again, all right? And we're going to talk about some of the different emotions that we have. And when do we know that emotion fits the time of when we're experiencing it? All right. Here we go. So let's look at our first one. Ashley, I think you had mentioned it for our emotions is fear, right? So let's put fear up here. When does fear fit the facts?
When you're scared.
When you're scared. All right, what else?
Someone look on the sheet.
You guys don't have that sheet.
Oh.
When you're scared, when your life might be threatened, right? All right? Scared,
Run.
scared, or life threatened.
Watching a scary movie.
All right? Threatened. That sounds good. All right, so that's one. All right? So, how about anger? Because we had mentioned anger before, Jackson. Anger is a pretty powerful emotion.
Yeah.
Let's do anger. When does anger fit the facts?
When you're frustrated.
When you're frustrated. Okay, that's true.
What kind of things make you frustrated?
Right.
Oh. Unfairness.
Unfairness. Or what you think is something that you want to do is being blocked, right? So a goal of yours is being blocked, right? So a goal is being blocked, right? That would happen like when I'm driving and somebody's in my way and not going fast enough, according to Dad, right?
Really
Well, I get angry, right? And
You
so I'm
get
like, okay,
impatient.
why? Because my goal is being blocked. I want to get there. That's exactly
You
right.
get impatient.
That's right.
Not
So-
angry. Impatient.
Well, and sometimes I get angry, right? So a goal is being blocked, right? Goal being blocked.
Yeah.
Goal blocked, all right? That sounds good. So that would fit if a goal is being blocked, right? Or or someone that might be trying to attack you as well, right? You might feel like, oh, that's not okay. That they're trying to hurt me, right? So you would say that fits to be angry, right? All right. How about a third emotion? Jealousy. Jealousy.
You're the seventh wheel.
You're the seventh wheel.
fifth
Why is that one, Ashton? If you wanna.
For jealousy.
Because you're the odd one out, and like everyone's like all together and everything, and you're just like,
Is that from a book?
no, you're just like out on the outside, like
Okay, you're on the outside.
like
So
fifth wheel is like never needed,
never. So you feel like that. Those are your thoughts. So that's a really good example, right?
or like a
So
seventh.
jealousy, though, is something where you've got something of value, an important relationship, an important thing that's yours that is being threatened to be taken over by somebody, right? Or they're going to take it from you. That's what jealousy is. Someone's taking something that was yours, relationship, some type of a valued item, right? And you're feeling like it might be a loss, right? So that's what that is, right? So you're you feel like a relationship or an item is being threatened. Yeah, threatened again. Okay. That would be jealousy. How about love? Grace, show your shirt.
Yeah.
What does that shirt say? Stand up so people can see in the audience. Stand up. What does that shirt say? It says love right there. Nice job. Love. All right. So what about love, Grace? When is love appropriate? When does love fit the facts?
When you're.
In love.
It's Grace's turn. She's got the shirt. None of you guys wore the shirt.
What?
So when does love fit the facts, Grace? Marriage, right? So when you have a partner, they give you something that you want, right? So an object could be a pet, could be a person, right? They give you some of the desire and need that you want, right? So get needs that you want. Get the needs that you want. You want. All right. Perfect. All right. Sadness. And all of us have done sadness well in this household. Sadness. What happens with sadness?
And when do you at
I think
home
it's sad.
think sadness makes sense and fits the facts?
Yeah, great. When does sadness fit the facts? Jackson.
Good.
Thank you. When does sadness fit the facts?
When you're suffering,
Okay, suffering.
or like mourning a lost loved one. one.
Yeah, you've lost something. Could be a loved one. Could be your baseball collection. Could be jewelry that you just made, right? It's okay,
A cap.
right? Right? So you've lost something, right? So that's sadness. Loss of something. Loss.
I broke a snow globe.
Do we have anything from home? Anything from other people, I should say?
When a family member dies.
Yeah, that fits the facts, right? Things are happening the way that you don't want them to be, right? COVID-19 is a good time to have it fits the facts. It's sad. They're not the way things are supposed to be, right? Or what we want them to be.
What are some of the things that we've lost during COVID-19? And at home, what are some of the things you've lost from COVID-19?
Snow globe.
The snow globe?
Yeah, I broke a snow globe at Auntie's house.
Oh, and you don't have it. Okay, what else have you lost?
The opportunity to go and play with my friends, like
Yeah?
physically.
Great.
when I
That's a
wasn't
great
there.
example. I lost the opportunity to play with my friends. Correct. So I think that would be a great one. Okay? Jax, anything that you can think of regarding sadness? Not at this point?
Not at this point.
All
I
right.
think the
Not
school
coming.
play.
I was gonna say Uncle Jay.
But that's sad. And that wasn't had to do with COVID-19, right? So that my
Oh, so
Right.
this has to be
Family
related
member,
to
yep.
COVID-19.
There's
And yes,
other-
the school play.
And other people said their loss of school. Another person lost their snow globe too, and that made them
what?
sad.
2 snow globes.
Yay! I'm not the only one.
So now you're glad that you're happy that somebody else is there has lost the same thing you have. You just it's a bonding. I was
She's
just
just valid.
right. It's validating. So it's a bonding. Correct. That was good, Ashton. You have been paying attention. I like that. All right. Coming back to you then, Ashton. Shame. When does shame fit the facts?
When you like embarrassed or something.
Okay, so we do have embarrassment. Now, so shame's a funny one. Shame's a very powerful emotion. Shame often fits the facts when we feel like we've done something wrong against our community, against the group that we're in. We feel like we've broken some cultural norm or some tradition or value of our group, our membership, right? So we feel like we're going to get kicked out. That's what shame does, right? So we feel like we've embarrassed ourselves. You use the word embarrassed. I would say shame, right? And we feel like we're no longer going to be accepted in our community. So against our community, all right? So I'm going to do that against community. And it's a good thing, Liz, you're writing, because everybody at home having to read my writing would be quite a challenge. All right, against the community. And the last one then, like shame, which is a little bit different,
Guilt.
is guilt. You got it. So guilt. When do we feel guilt? And when is guilt justified?
When
In a
you're
court.
guilty.
In court.
So yes, in a court of law, that's a decision that's either you're guilty or you're not guilty. But our emotion of guilt is a little bit different, right?
Embarrassment.
So there could be embarrassment again, correct? You can have embarrassment on both of those, right? So embarrassment is going to be a secondary emotion. The family, the emotion family, though, is going to be guilt or shame that's there. When do we experience guilt that is justified? And this one's a hard one.
Oh, when you go against your personal values.
You got it. Woo-hoo! You're 2 for 2. You go against your personal values, right? You do something that's against your values, right? You've done something. You've been mean to somebody when you said that you're really supportive of a person. You've done something. Maybe you've hit somebody when that goes against your values. You've done something that goes against what you believe are your goals, and so that's exactly right.
And then we've got a great question here from one of our listeners asking, let me just change the camera here, asking one, when you steal something, that can actually be both shame and guilt, right?
Correct.
Because you may feel shame because you got caught and somebody else knows that you stole it, so you feel shame there, and you might have gone against your own values, so you feel guilt for the stealing.
Like, it's like you have this thing, but then, like, on the other side, the person who you took it from maybe, like, they're, like, was really sad now because, like, you took their, like, stuff.
Right, or you're embarrassed that you got caught amongst your friends, and that goes against their values. And another person asks, can I feel shame if I set standards for myself above the community standards and I don't meet my own expectations?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
That would be more of guilt, though, right? You're not going to get kicked out of the community. If your standards are higher than the community, there's not a threat that you're getting kicked out of the community. You just let yourself down. So
Right.
I would think that would be more.
Right, and that
more
may
of
be
guilt.
one of the times where our shame doesn't fit the facts.
Correct.
It's not getting kicked out, and that's where we may have to work on bringing that what we call unjustified shame, or shame that doesn't make sense in this situation, to bring that down. Because oftentimes we feel shame about things when we shouldn't.
Yep.
When
Great.
it doesn't make sense.
So here's why this is important. There are other emotions too. So we have 7 of them here, right? We can have other emotions. Remember or keep in mind, emotions tend to be things that are one word, that we can describe with one word, right? Those are our emotions, all right? And so thoughts are something like, I'm really frustrated, right? That's a thought. I'm upset. That's a thought, right? So it's not an emotion. So here's the thing. Let's go all the way back full circle. We now have figured out when situations will fit the facts for our emotions, right? When we have those facts that fit the emotions, we have 2 things that we're going to talk about. There are other skills. So when our emotions fit the facts, we can problem solve if it's solvable. And if it's not a solvable problem, like COVID-19, we can't solve that one. We have what's called wave skill. We just have to endure it. We can be sad, we can be angry, and we have to then just recognize that that's there, right? So we'll cover those in other lessons. We're gonna also cover on Thursday. I'm gonna cover what if the situation or my emotions do not fit the facts, and that's the big one, right? And so again, when we start, we're talking about the idea of that if our emotions below 65, first thing we do, and the decision-making tree is we check the facts. If the facts fit, we go to problem solving, or mindfulness of current emotion, which I call the wave skill. So that's there, all right? And if they don't fit the facts, we're going to go to opposite action, all right? Those are the 2 important decision-making trees after asking ourselves, check the facts. All right. Any questions there? Okay. Any questions, Jackson? Great. So let's put up the summary points. Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
All right. And so here's the summary that we want to do. Here's what I think I covered, right? And those of you that are maybe following me in our books, or if you've joined us late, this is actually lesson 17 in our book. All right. And in lesson 17 in the book is check the facts and opposite action. I broke it apart this time because I think I wanted just to spend a little bit more time flushing out what check the facts is. I'll cover the opposite action again on Thursday, right? And so, and the handouts are on page 432, 433, and 434, all right? So here's what we learned, I think, today, right? Check the facts is the first question we ask ourselves if the emotion thermometer that we have is below 65, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? How do we know if our emotion thermometer is above 65?
Mindfulness,
exactly. So that's where mindfulness becomes a core, right? We really need that. The second piece that we learned today was changing our interpretation of the facts, if they do not fit, will actually help reduce our emotions, right? So what happens is that if we figure out that Ashton earned the right to go down and play video games on Xbox, it actually changes it, right? So your first interpretation did not fit the facts.
Nope.
Right? If, and here's the third point coming, if the situation or emotions do fit the facts, then we can use problem solving or wave skills to help us with our current emotion, right? To either reduce it or to help us sit with that emotion, all right? And so that's what we want to be able to do there as well, right? To be mindful of our current emotions and to either sit with it, which we'd call mindfulness of current emotion or wave skill, or to try to help problem solve. Any questions from my class? You were outstanding today. Yes. 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 Yes.
I've got a great question from home. Do you check the facts for positive emotions too?
Absolutely. You bet. Anytime our mindfulness skills are saying, hey, my body's having some reaction, we can go to check the facts. Where we don't go to check the facts is when we're really high up on that emotional thermometer. If we're an 85, it's not going to matter because check the facts is not on the, we're on the other side basically of the continuum there, right? And once that comes down, then we can start to check the facts. All right?
And a great example I think of is sometimes when we're feeling really happy or a lot of joy, I'm going to go right here. We're feeling really happy or a lot of a joy, maybe during a situation where maybe we've experienced a loss, right? Or something scary just really happened as a family, or something sad happened, and instead we're feeling a lot of joy. So maybe we need to check the facts and say, does my joy fit the facts right now? No. Maybe I need to bring that down, and then I might do some assessment to what's happening and see what emotion might make more sense and fit the facts in that scenario. So it's always important to go back and look, and that's why our mindfulness skills are so important there.
Correct. Great. All right. With that, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to be back here on Thursday at 10 a.m. Seattle time. Please have a good, skillful day, and next couple of days, we'll see you Thursday. Say goodbye.
And please be sure to subscribe to our DBT in Schools YouTube channel, and then check out our Parenting Through COVID-19 live streams that happen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 7 a.m. on both Instagram and Facebook at DBT in Schools. And you can get all this information on our website of www.dbtinschools.com. Thanks all. We hope you found this helpful. Please leave some comments and some likes so we know that you're finding this useful and that we can keep doing it. All right, take care and have a great week.